This is the film case studies assignment, and there's two different contexts in which you may be doing this assignment. First, if you're doing this for your week 13 assignment as an alternate to the application assignment, that can only be done if it's been approved ahead of time by your professor or instructor based on extenuating circumstances, such as being on bed rest for high-risk pregnancy, that type of thing. Not being able to plan ahead or having something fall through does not constitute as an extenuating circumstance. So you do need to speak with your instructor ahead of time. If you submit this instead of the application assignment without prior approval, it will be an automatic 0 on this assignment. That being said, the other context you may be doing this is as an extra engagement opportunity. So if you go to the extra engagement opportunities page, you can see the different options available there. But if you've selected this as one of your extra engagement opportunities, then what you need to do is you're going to go down, again, the outcomes and the description are always important to read through, but what you'll be doing is looking at these directions, and you will be choosing, again, if you're doing this as an alternate, then you need to do this for at least 2 different characters, which would be 2 full different assessments. If you're doing this as extra engagement, then you can get 1 point per extra one that you do, up to 2, I believe. So you can read through that, but when you come down here, please note that you'll be watching a film, and there's a long list. I understand that not all people have the same taste in films or are able to watch the same types of films. So please find a film or films that are of interest to you, and then notice that there's specific characters out to the side. You do need to choose one or more of those characters that are specifically indicated, not just any other random characters who happen to be in the film. Now, From Nowhere, it says is not rated. That one is an independent film, but it's about the same as maybe a PG to a PG-13. A fascinating film about undocumented high school students who are going through different experiences as they face upcoming plans to go to college, and even the high school graduation as a whole. Very interesting and educational film. Juno, I know many people are familiar with, and Pursuit of Happiness tends to be a frequently done movie for this. There are a few others. There's Trust, Cyberbully, Kids, we're going to come back to that one here in a second, Precious, Dangerous Minds, 8 Mile, Soloist, Speak. If you think of another video that, after you review the form here that you'd be doing, that you really feel would be a strong contender and that there would be a case for a character within that movie, please let your professor know, and that would need to be approved ahead of time. But it is possible to do a character from a movie that is not on this list if they meet all criteria and are pre-approved by your instructor. Now, I really quickly want to take a moment. This movie, Kids, right here, it is available online. When it says NC-17, that's like with PG-13, that means you have to have like parental guidance, and like it's geared for 13-year-olds, kind of being the delineating factor. That's not how NC-17 works, and this is much more graphic than a general rated R movie would be. And so if you are not into rated R movies, this one certainly will probably not be one that you'd be interested in. That being said, this is a phenomenal film as far as really identifying incredibly high-risk youth. These are adolescents. The film is done kind of as it feels almost like a documentary, almost like you're one of the kids, but it is very raw and very graphic in language, sex, drug use, violence, a wide variety. You will notice that this movie has 3 different characters you can choose from, and that's because the circumstances are rough enough in this film that there are multiple people that you could easily do an entire assessment for. For both Kids and Precious, where there is very graphic sexual content, just as a heads up, if you are watching this film at home, you may or may not want, well, for quite a few of these, your kids around, but this kids movie, that's not for kids. So, choose a movie, choose a character or 2. If you choose, for example, Kids or From Nowhere that has more than one character, or 8 Mile, you can do 2 different write-ups based on the same film, but one for each character. If you choose films that only have one pre-identified character, then you want to do 2 assessments, then you would need to watch 2 different movies. You can go down this public health client assessment, and when you do that, it will pop up this Word document right here, and you do need to fill this out completely to the best of your perception. So you need to tell your patient name, which is your character, and the film name, and then you would do an intake assessment. So based on what you can tell from watching the film, give the information that is accurate to your character. Any other use or issues or concerns or traits or anything that are of note, you can add down here. And then you need to answer the following questions. So what concerns present a potential barrier for optimal health outcomes, and an explanation. What are the top 3 priorities to address with this client to promote positive health outcomes, with an explanation. What resources are available along the Wasatch Front. Now, these films are not filmed along the Wasatch Front, but if these individuals were to come to you with the resources that are available along the Wasatch Front, what information would you be able to provide? What contacts and resources? What barriers may exist in the client having access to these resources? So think through what potential barriers may be present specifically for that individual, particularly for addressing the resources that you have just referred up here. And then what are some short-term, intermediate, or mid-range, and long-term goals for that client, with an explanation of each? How likely do you feel that the client is to meet and maintain the goals? How can you, as a public health nurse, advocate for and support the client? And what interdisciplinary partners need to be involved, such as social workers, police, etc. Now, for each of these, you will notice in the instructions, let me flip back over to there, that you do need to have 2 or 3 paragraphs per prompt, and particularly where you're giving information about resources or specific goals that are appropriate, you do need to make sure that any specific content that's listed has citations and references present. So please make sure you go in and do that. You do not need to give a citation and reference for the movie. If you've indicated which movie it is at the top, there's no need to give further citation or reference for the film, but more for outside resources that you've looked at to find out the best way to instruct and guide this individual. So please look at the criteria down below, and depending on which use you are using this, whether it's for an alternate for your week 13 or whether it's for an extra engagement, we'll change the deadline for those, but please keep an eye on those due dates.